What's going on, guys? Brent0331. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So once a year, SNS Training Solutions puts on a winter warfare training package called Winter Forge. And my good buddy Bruce at Camp Marmot, be sure to check out his YouTube channel. He and I went up there last year and took part in it, and it was just a phenomenal experience, guys. There's a lot of tactical training companies out there, but very few of them train in the wintertime, and this is definitely one of them. So with that being said, because I had such a great time last year, I'm going back this year and I'm getting my gear and putting it together, and I thought it'd be a good idea to do a gear video like I've done for many of the One Shepherd semesters I've gone to give you guys that may be going to Winter Forge an idea of what you need to take up there. So without further ado, let's get to it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment. First thing I'm going to talk about is clothing. And first thing is your base layer. So this is a base layer. These are Marine Corps Frog flame resistant operational gear base layer, and it's essentially a moisture wicking layer to have on your skin first. So that is what you're going to put on first, and what that does is it's going to draw that moisture away from your body and push it outward. So this is very important. This is what you have at the very base of your clothing. Okay, the whole principle for this is a layered system. The next layer on top of it is going to be your waffle layer, okay? So this is a waffle top and a waffle bottom. And one thing I want to say, guys, is there's plenty of military surplus stuff out there at very good prices. Whether it's a surplus store or on eBay, guys are offloading this stuff like crazy, okay? Particularly this, the U.S. Army version, because it's based on their older UCP camouflage pattern, and you know, the Army has gone more towards a coyote, so you're probably going to get better deals on UCP related gear. And I'm telling you guys, this stuff is out there at just a steal and a significantly lesser price than its civilian counterpart. But the second layer is your waffle layer. All right, guys, next layer is going to be my 100% Marine Corps issue service sweater, aka the Woolly Pulley. This thing is 100% wool and is just money, guys. If you don't know, in a cold weather environment, wool is an amazing piece of gear. Anything wool, and we'll talk more about wool later on. But my Woolly Pulley is definitely a great base layer for me when it comes to keeping warm in a cold weather environment. Right above that, I have a more modern U.S. Army fleece. And this is their older foliage gray color, which they wore with UCP. The reason I put this one out is because these things are cheap and plentiful, guys. Nobody likes this foliage green color, so you can get these at a really good price. But you can also get a you know, an older model, same exact thing like the one I have on. It's black, or they're newer models, but those probably gonna be a little bit more expensive. This foliage green color is definitely the cheaper route if you're interested in saving a few bucks. But these are great pieces of gear and definitely keep you warm. All right, next, standard utilities. So SNS uses multicam. At One Shepherd, you know, you have the OD and woodland camouflage pattern. At SNS, they have multicam, and they also have woodland / OD. It's kind of like a brown versus green kind of configuration when it comes to SNS and their force on force training. So ideally, guys, you want multicam, but contact them, talk to them. If you don't have multicam, you know, you can probably do woodland or OD, and depending on which side you're going to be on, they can work with you. They also do dyed UCP. Cole Salmons, who's one of the head guys at SNS, has done videos recently on getting UCP, you know, because like I've already mentioned, there's plenty of cold weather UCP gear out there that nobody wants. You can get it really cheap, and they're dyeing it with brown RIT dye, and it's coming out fantastic. So that dyed UCP camouflage pattern along with the multicam are on the same side versus, you know, your woodland and OD color. But regular BDUs, you know, it could be freaking 15 degrees one day, and then that afternoon it could be 65, so who knows. But you definitely need a standard utility uniform for Winter Forge. And with that, obviously, you want a good quality belt, rigger's belt, or some sort of BDU style belt to hold your trousers up so they're not falling down. All right, guys, next layer is going to be your Goretex layer, your ICWICs. So there's a lot of surplus ICWICs out there. There's your old woodland style. There's the out-of-date UCP pattern that you can dye brown. There's also, your multicam, IQWIX. However, obviously that's going to be the most expensive. So, if you need to go the cheaper route, get the older surplus UCP and then just dye it brown. Again, if you have a Woodland IQWIX, just contact them so they can work with you to see what you can do. When it comes to winter forage, guys, they understand that the cold weather gear is the most expensive portion of it. And, in many cases they can work with you, and, when it comes to uniformity, they're a little bit more leeway than when it comes to S&S in winter forage and, let's say, one Shepherd training semester. So, but nonetheless, you have to have an IQWIX Goretex top and bottom, guys. It is a wet, cold environment, and we can't have guys getting cold and wet at the same time. That becomes a potentially fatal situation. Another option I have over here is a Russian Gorka suit. This is fantastic. I wore this, actually Bruce did too, on the first day, which was mostly classroom and going out in the field and getting hands-on practical application on stuff. And Goretex is just a fantastic suit. It's made from the same stuff that the Russians used in like World War II for their ponchos, so it does have some water repellency, but it's just, it's great at keeping that outside layer for you to operate in that cold weather environment. And then, hell, the Russians operate in the cold all the time. This is second nature to them. So obviously they know what good shit is in a cold weather environment. So Goretex, not Goretex, but Gorka suits are a good way to go if you want to go that route as well. All right, guys, the Marshmallow Suit. Now, this is essentially for nighttime, standing and watch. You're out there in a fighting position and the temperatures are really dropping. This stuff really keeps you warm, guys. It's called Marshmallow Suit because you obviously can see it's really puffy, and this is clearly the older model UCP style Marshmallow Suit. Very cheap, particularly the pants, guys. For whatever reason, the pants are super cheap, so you can pick those up at a great price. Your top jacket's going to be a little bit more expensive. Mine right here is in a Marpat camouflage pattern. Please don't ask me where I got this, guys. I got this years ago. I haven't seen them since. So current issue Marine Corps Marshmallow Suits are coyote only, just like the inside of this. So I have obviously a Marpat top and this gray colored trousers. Doesn't matter when it comes to night, standing watch in the rear. The temperatures really drop. They don't really care what color your Marshmallow Suit is. It's going to be nighttime operations anyways. So I wouldn't be moving around with this. This is more, like I said, rear echelon, maybe standing sentry post or something in the patrol base at night kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about footwear. So my recommended boot, guys, this is the intermediate cold weather boot, and this thing is fantastic. I got these at a steal. Again, these are the older UCP boots. You can see they have that more tan, lighter tan color. I got these for, it was like 20 or 40 bucks, shipped, brand spanking new, never used, surplus market, and have no regrets. I wore these at the last Winter Forge, and they were just fantastic boots for me. You can wear these with or without the boot liners. So if you're stationary, you're not moving, you can put these boot liners in there, and they fit right inside these boots right here, and they'll help keep your feet toasty warm. Underneath that is obviously your standard sock. This is 100% military issue Arctic wool socks. These things were fantastic. This is what I wore last year. You can get these type of socks super cheap, guys. Maybe like $5-10 bucks a pair, if that. They are just phenomenal socks. That's what I wore last year. So you can imagine 100% wool sock inside this booty, inside this intermediate cold weather boot, and it was money. Never had a problem with my feet getting cold. The flip side of that is your standard issue Goretex combat boot. These, obviously you can use those, but they're not gonna be as good as these, okay? Now, I've seen guys talk about, wearing Goretex boots, it's gonna make your feet sweat and stuff like that. Guys, this is a wet, cold environment, okay? If your feet get wet and you are getting in those really cold temperatures, you are screwed, okay? So you definitely need a Goretex boot for this particular environment when you're operating in it. Also, on top of boots, highly recommended are gaiters. These gaiters right here are just Swiss surplus gaiters. I got these off of like Sportsman's Guide for maybe $15 back in the day, and they are just phenomenal. Super high quality. They're probably from like the 70s, and they just work amazingly, and these gaiters are just superb. All All right, guys, let's talk about gloves. So I'm a big fan of your standard issue Nomex flight gloves. I've worn those for years for infantry operations, but those are for regular temperature operating environments, okay? Those are actually called summer flight gloves. So these right here are the winter variant, and obviously you can see they're a lot thicker. I wore these last year for winter forage during normal daytime hours, and they were just fantastic. These can be had at a decent price. They're a good glove. They have a leather palm, and these are my preferred cold weather glove. However, when it gets colder, these probably aren't going to cut it, all right? Your hands are going to get a lot colder, and I have some other options over here that I can show you. These right here are similar to the leather work glove. However, they are Goretex lined, so they will protect you from getting wet, and it's an actual intermediate cold weather glove. So inside there, as you guys can see, it's for keeping your hands warm. So these are another good option as well, particularly if you got to do some work, which at Winter Forge, you're definitely going to be doing some work. So here's another more modern version of, you know, a similar type glove for just regular operating temperatures during, I would say, the daytime. At night, obviously, it's going to get a lot colder, guys, and you need to start looking at trigger finger mittens. Okay, mittens are good because with your hands closer together, you know, it helps retain that heat better. So, you know, trigger finger mittens are the next step up when it comes to keeping your hands warm in that cold weather environment. So you got a few options. There's a lot of surplus trigger finger mittens out there that you can get at a very good price. Most of them require that you have something like a wool glove insert or the wool trigger finger mitten insert like this, okay? And then these are like an outer shell. So this is a surplus, U.S. military surplus trigger finger mitten, older variation, and you can get these at a great price. But you guys can see that your forefingers would be in here, okay? And then you have a separate for your trigger finger, and then you have your thumb. I wore these, I believe, last year when the temperatures dropped, and they just worked out fantastic. There's also Goretex mittens. These are a British model. These are also cheap. However, this particular version does not have a trigger finger. It's just a standard mitten. Over here is a French model, and the material here does feel like it has some water repellency. In here, it's wool lined, and I got these super cheap off of Sportsman's Guide. I'm going to probably try these out this year. They look like they're pretty good, and will do the job. All right, let's talk about keeping your head, face, and neck warm, okay? So first thing we got here is a neck gaiter. It's a great piece of gear. They're really light though, but they are good just to, you know, when you come to a stop, if you want to put it on, put it over your face, you know, help keep your face warm. When you're on the move, I suggest you take it off and stick it in a cargo pocket because you don't want that around your neck and you're sweating and everything else. Watch cap, this is a Marine Corps issue. I believe it's made by Polar Tech. There should be plenty of these out there on the surplus market. I'm sure the Army has their own version of it as well. But these are just great pieces of gear. You can wear them under your helmet, and they help keep your head and your ears warm. 100% wool scarf, USGI, on the surplus market. Highly recommend, guys, put that around your neck when you're not moving. It'll break down the wind. It's just a great piece of gear to have. Lastly, you have a ski mask. Now, ski masks, I don't recommend wearing these all the time. Obviously, just like any of the layers, you would put this on as needed, take it off when moving. Okay, but if you're middle of the night, wee hours of the morning, really cold, okay, a really thick 100% wool ski mask will help keep your head and your face and everything else warm. Sleep system. What sleep system do you want? Well, that's your choice, but as a standard, I would say USGI 3-bag system, which consists of the outer Goretex bivy sack to protect you from the wet. You have your intermediate cold weather patrol bag, which is the green bag, and then you have your colder weather black bag. So all three of these combined, plus if you still need some extra warmth, you have a poncho liner. All these combined will definitely keep you nice and toasty in the Winter Forge training event. Additionally, I recommend that you have some sort of waterproofing bag, a Wheeler Peter bag like this. You can stuff your sleep system in it, and it'll help it keep the whole system dry and protect it from the elements. You need to have an isomat. An isomat will help put a barrier between your body and the ground, keep that ground from sucking that heat right out of you. Whether it's an older style rolled up isomat, which you can find these everywhere, they're really cheap, or a newer issue accordion style. These are a little bit slimmer profile, but they both do the exact same thing. Definitely need an ISO mat for winter forage training. Also, don't forget to take a poncho, whether that's an older USGI poncho or a current issue Marine Corps poncho. You have Marpat camouflage on one side, and on the back side is Coyote Brown to help blend in to your respective environment. But a poncho is always an essential piece of gear if you need to use it for overhead cover as a ground sheet, or you need to waterproof some gear. That's where a poncho really comes into play. Web equipment. Now, S&S allows a whole variety of web equipment. Make sure you check their website to figure out what exactly you need as a requirement in terms of being able to carry gear. But this is what I use. This is an older style LBV 88. Carries 6 magazines in the magazine pockets. It also has 2 small grenade pockets that I can, put other miscellaneous gear in. And then attached to the LBV 88, I have a camelback holder. However, during winter training, guys, you do not use a camelback. Camelbacks will freeze. So you're running some sort of canteen. Now, some guys prefer wide mouth canteens and metal canteens in the wintertime. Wide mouth being is because you can actually fit a knife in there to break up the water if it does freeze. But this is a standard USGI canteen. I ran these last year, had no issues. Regardless, you need canteens, not camelback for your water source. Inside an older style USGI canteen, you can have your canteen cup, which is a must because you're definitely going to have hot wets, which are like chicken broth and stuff like that, and coffee to keep your body getting those hot fluids constantly coming in. In the middle here, I have a butt pack. You can put whatever I need in there for the mission, whether that's a poncho, Goretex top, whatever I need can go in this butt pack. Also have an IFAK attached to that. Over here, I have a saw pouch. Inside the saw pouch it's essentially a general purpose pouch. I can put whatever. Obviously, I do a lot of filming when I go out there, so I can put my camera in there. I can put my MVGs in here, whatever I need. General purpose pouch, and I have 2 of those, 1 on each side. I also have a dump pouch, and over here I have my utility knife, as well as a multi-tool. This is very important right here. Attached to my pistol belt is an extender. So obviously when I have cold weather stuff on, it's gonna make me a lot wider, okay, a bigger person. So this extender plugs into my pistol belt and allows extra room for accommodating all that extra cold weather equipment. And then obviously with these buckles, I can loosen these up and to accommodate that as well. But extender just makes my pistol belt longer to accommodate more warming layers. And then if it gets warmer and I need to strip those warming layers, all I gotta do is take this extender off, and there we go. I'm right back to being the normal width that it always is. All right, guys, the pack I run at the Winter Forge training event is the Mark 7 made by Crossfire. And this is just an apartment complex of a pack, all right? It can carry a whole bunch of stuff. Has a built-in internal sleep compartment, and it also has, I got 2 exterior pockets on the front. I have another pocket on the side that I can detach if I don't need it there. On this side, I have my e-tool attached, which you definitely probably want to take an e-tool whether you're digging a cat hole to take a shit or making a fighting position. An e-tool is a great piece of gear. Also have a Gurkha style machete that I attach onto the side of my pack with this D-ring. It has pass-through pockets on the sides that I can pass that machete right through and then hook that this carabiner onto the Gurkha machete. There we go. Now it's right there on the side for easy transport. But this has just been a phenomenal pack for me. I've taken this through several semesters at One Shepherd in the field, and it's just been a great pack. I have a whole video on this pack if you guys want to check that out. A very modular pack, but definitely has more than enough room that I need. And in the winter months, you're obviously taking more gear, more snivel gear and whatnot, so a bigger pack is definitely needed. But you can take any pack. It doesn't have to be obviously a Crossfire Mark 7. But you know, if you want to make a large Alice pack work, that's definitely a good pack to do. And there's other different packs out there that you can utilize that can carry that type of sustainment load for a Winter Forge training event. But this is the particular one that I use, which is the Crossfire Mark 7 pack. I got some more miscellaneous gear. I'm going to work from the left, moving to the right. So for headgear, obviously for warmer temperatures, a boonie is a standard headgear. So a multicam boonie. I have a bump helmet here because I think a bump helmet works best for the camera that I run, as well as mounting MVGs. So I don't want to run a skull crusher. I usually use a bump helmet during the FTX at Winter Forge. Also have here are some bungee cords. I would say 2 minimum. 4 is probably ideal, and that's for stringing up ground tarps or ponchos, things like that. Bungee cords are always great. They come in real handy when it comes to operating in a field environment. Some hygiene stuff. Obviously, I would take a little thing of Gold Bond, some powder for your balls. Baby wipes are essential. Wiping that ass, cleaning that face. You are definitely not taking a shower at Winter Forge, guys. So baby wipes are essential. Also, chapstick. Cold weather environment, your skin is going to get dry. So chapstick, maybe a small thing of lotion, your preference. But that is some stuff that might make your life a little bit easier. Take a watch, preferably like a tactical watch, if it's a tactical color, or have a watch band or something along those lines. I have a wrist GPS that I take. Extra batteries for your MVGs, your flashlights, whatever you're using. Obviously a headlamp that's red lens capable. Here I have an IR strobe that always comes in handy at night for nighttime operations. Extra zip ties. I've got some chem lights here, different colors, as well as IR. A little pouch to put miscellaneous things in. I got an air panel for signaling. We've used these from time to time, whether that's doing far or near recognition signals, or marking something for other adjacent elements moving through. Some heating pads. If your pussy starts getting cold, you can stick it down there or help warm your body up. I got a field stove here. This is a BCB Fire Dragon stove. A great little kit I have that's got trioxane tablets in there, as well as matches. Keep my coffee and stuff like that in there to help heat up that canteen cup to make that hot cup of joe. Down here I've got this is all my land nav stuff. So this is a land nav pouch. I've got Sharpies, matte pencils, a whistle is in there. I got my Ranger beads that'll attach to my web equipment. I've got a notepad with little clips here for maps, take notes, things of that nature. I got my map pouch here. Knee pads are always a good piece of gear when you're doing FTXs or any type of Wind Shepherd training, as well as SNS training at Winter Forge. So knee pads will definitely be a lifesaver. Here's just a sniper veil. I've got the desert tricolor one. This works well in the wintertime when the vegetation is real dead. Rifle cleaning kit. Obviously you're going to have a real AR-15 rifle that shoots blanks. It's going to get dirty. You might need to do weapons maintenance. So always take rifle cleaning gear with you when you do these field training exercises. I got some binos. These are my Steiners. These are fantastic binos. Some guys don't like the extra weight, but I definitely like those Steiners, so I brave the weight. Plus I got that big ass DG7 pack. Not a problem to carry those babies. So these are a couple examples of canteens I was talking about earlier. This is an Arctic weather canteen, USGI, older model. As you can see, it's made of metal, holds up better in the cold environments. And then this is a French canteen with a wider mouth. So some guys prefer these, so if the water does freeze, you can stick your knife down in there and help break up the water. USGI laundry bag. This is a great piece of gear, just to stuff dirty laundry in or whatever. If you got to pack up stuff quickly, you can throw this in there. It's a great little piece of gear to have. Some weapon stuff. So you'll use a SNS issued weapon. I do believe they have the capability for you to use your own weapon. You probably got to pay a mounting fee to mount the Miles SAT and stuff to it. However, if you are going and you're going to get issued a SNS weapon, they have flat tops as well as, I believe, Picatinny quad rails, so you can mount your own accessories to that particular weapon. So I've got two optics here. I took the Primary Arms MD25 last year. I'm going to see if I can use this Cyclops this year. I'll see if it co-witnesses that with that Magpul backup sight that I know they have on those AR. But these both have an MVG compatible setting for them for their illumination setting on the reticle, so I can shoot passively with my 14s. So I'm going to use one of these two optics. I don't know which one yet. A couple more weapon mounted things. This is a Steiner D-Ball I2 IR laser. It also has a visible laser, but I don't typically use a visible laser. But if I want to engage targets with the IR laser, this is what I'll be using. I'll mount this on the quad rail that the SNS weapon it has. Also have an Enforce flashlight capable of white light as well as IR light. This right here is AGM PVS 14, and I have a MVG recorder attached to it. So this is Gen 3 night vision, and I can record slam bodies through this PVS 14. This is a Taipam TM25384 thermal monocular, so it's handheld, not weapon mounted, so I can scan a tree line or something before crossing, looking for enemy heat signatures. All right, guys, another little piece of gear that I recommend is a field stool. Now, typically speaking, if it was a regular one shepherd semester, not winter forage, I'd say, hey, this is a no-go, right? This is excess gear. You don't need this. However, this comes in very handy in winter forage. Okay, when you sit on the ground, if let's say you're on watch, you're in a fighting position or whatever, and you're sitting on the ground and your butt is touching the ground, and it's not on an isomat or any type of insulation, that ground's going to suck the heat right out of you, okay? So a little small field stool like this will get you off the ground and keep your body away from it to help retain that heat a lot better. So, and this is just a nice piece of gear to have when you're in the rear in the Arctic weather tent, or maybe in the Von Wreck around the fire, or whatever the case may be. Field stool would come in handy. So I will be taking this into the field on winter forage, and I recommend that you get one as well. But these are very cheap. You can go to a local sporting goods store and get one of these, probably about $15–20. So snow camouflage. These are winter overwhites. These are German surplus. These are pretty plentiful. You guys can pick these up. I would say put this purchase off to the end if you don't already have it, okay? The reason I say that is because you don't know if it's going to snow. It may or may not. It did snow on the very first day, so snow camouflage was practical on the very first day out there at Winter Forge. But after that, the snow melted and there was no snow on the ground. If you were wearing winter overwhites, you stand out like a sore thumb. So I would say definitely this is an optional purchase if you so choose. Also a pack cover, a snow pack cover that you can throw on your pack to help plus it up. I also have some cut up old white t-shirt rags, and you can use these to wrap around your weapon to help camouflage it. But again, guys, I would say that snow camouflage is probably one of the least priorities in terms of gear is concerned for winter forage, because it may not snow, and if it does snow, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be camouflaged, because there's still plenty of brown in the environment for just regular camouflage to be effective out there in that particular environment. That's it, guys. That completes my video over my winter forage gear. If you're liking what you're seeing, don't forget to check out my channel, subscribe. I also have plenty of content videos just like this on my YouTube channel that you can check out. If you're going to Winter Forge 2022, I hope to see you there. If not, hope to see you next year. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment.